Hello, welcome to RAVE. My name is Eric Smith. I'm the owner and president of Redwood Art Group. I'm here with Hannah Smith, our social media manager, and my daughter. We're so happy to have you joining us over the next 3 days. Each of the next sessions are planned to last 60 minutes to 70 minutes.
And we want to welcome all of you that participate in the art industry, whether you are an art gallery owner, a frame shop owner, an art dealer, a designer, an architect, or even simply just an art lover. We've designed the first 2 days of RAVE with you in mind, and we want you to know that all of the artists have been educated in selling to the trade, and we encourage you to reach out to them. We've got quite the lineup, and it'll be entertaining, engaging, and fun.
That's right. We've been doing a lot of studying on virtual events, and the best virtual events are really B2B, business to business. And so that's why we invited the other side of the business to engage with us on this RAVE event. And if you are a member of the trade and you want an introduction to one of the artists instead of just going to their guest book, that's okay. You can email me, Eric, E-R-I-C, at redwoodmg.com. And I'll introduce you to the artists you're going to see tonight and over the next couple of days. Let's start with a toast, Hannah.
Cheers.
We're so pleased that Mason Pomeroy is with us again as a sponsor.
And you just watched an amazing video of the art installations they do throughout Maison Pomeroy in Champagne, France.
Pomeroy has been a major player in the world of arts since its, I'm buzzed already. Arts since its creation. To stay faithful to the memory and will of Madame Pomeroy, they continue to exhibit contemporary art as the main thrust of their patronage.
So make sure to check out the Pomeroy story under our sponsors tab on the RAVE website.
So just a little bit on how we got here. Most of you know us for our live events. From Art San Diego to Art Santa Fe to New York to the Miami show Spectrum and Red Dot. And since there haven't been any live events for us since December 2019, we've created this virtual platform called RAVE, Redwood Art Group Virtual Events. Now, we will be going back to live events and hopefully soon. We have shows scheduled starting in September in Brooklyn, October in San Diego, November in New York, and the December shows at Art Basel down in Miami. So if you're interested in those, go to our website and sign up. The purpose of the RAVE events is to keep our community together, the collectors, artists, and galleries, and all of you watching tonight. And our goal is to create a positive virtual experience, introducing you to new artists, new works, new stories, and new champagne. Pomeroy.
And we are coming to you tonight live from the beautiful Palm Desert, California. But more importantly, we want to know where you guys are tuning in from. So tell us in the chat box on the right side of your screen, and feel free to use that chat box to make comments and ask questions throughout tonight's event. And in between our art sessions and discussions, we will be highlighting our talented and incredible exhibitors as part of our RAVE showcase. And we chose some artists who draw their inspiration from nature and earth in honor of Earth Day being today. So make sure to take a look at those artists, and we encourage you to visit each booth after our event this evening and throughout the weekend. But if you do want to look at their booths as the show goes on, make sure to just open them in a new tab so you can continue listening to us while also browsing their work.
And as you're browsing their work on their booth page, there's a guest book on each page. Let them know you like the work. Let them know you'd be interested in a piece, whatever, just fill it out and make them, give them some attention there. It's really nice and the artists love it. And when you buy from the Redwood Marketplace, it's free freight anywhere in the United States.
So sit back, relax, grab a drink or a cocktail of choice and enjoy the next hour.
So cheers, let's rave.
Cheers.
So, our first talk tonight, art talk, is called Moving Forward, Lessons Learned During the Pandemic.
And where are we? Where have we been over the last year? And what's the prognosis for the future? So real estate is booming. The home improvement market is booming. You know, designers' phones are ringing. Realtors' phones are ringing. So what does all of that mean for the art market going forward?
So I'd like to introduce Jeff Jaffe, owner of Pop International Gallery in New York City. Marilyn Ford, co-founder and broker of Marilyn Ford Group here in Palm Desert. And we're going to talk about the housing market and other sort of things like that. So kind of start the RAVE event off this time with kind of an outline of what's been going on in the world. So welcome, Jeff. Welcome, Marilyn.
Welcome. Thank you.
Hi.
So Jeff, let's start with you. It's been a challenging year. A lot of galleries in New York City have closed. A lot of restaurants are closed. You are still open and doing well. What changes have you made to keep Pop International going? Oh, Jeff, you're on mute.
So
There you go.
yeah, so I think the thing about what has happened to our world, and I mean it in a general sense, not just the art world, has been something none of us have ever seen before, and hopefully none of us will ever see again in our lifetimes. The irony of it all is that it forced us to sort of approach the world in a different way and look at the world in a different way. And in the end, look at art in a different way. And our gallery, the Pop Gallery, has been around for 25 years. We truly had to throw things out the window, essentially, and sort of really rebuild and restructure our modus operandi, if you will. It took a whole bunch of things to sort of force us, literally, into coming to terms with what we had to come to terms with. And the beauty of what we do, fortunately, is after all the years that the gallery, Pop International, has been in business, we have a lovely client base. We have a beautiful collector base. We have an incredible stable of artists that we represent. Many have been with us from the day we opened. And for me, that was the telling thing about getting through the pandemic and adapting to what we had to adapt. And obviously virtual events and emailing and telephone calls and reaching out to everybody on a broader level, but most importantly, on a personal level. It's pretty easy to text somebody. It's pretty easy to email somebody. It's even easier to pick up the phone and say hi to somebody. Besides the email blasts that went out or will go out. And we realized pretty quickly into this thing, yes, it's tough not having our physical space open. People have been coming in for years just loving it. Our events are always crowded and packed, and no more. Yes, hopefully things will change. But the kicker of it was to come to terms and realize that we had to shape things a little bit differently. And fortunately, technology was one of those things that was amazingly helpful.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So of those avenues that you've kind of implemented over the last year, which ones do you think you'll continue using long after the pandemic?
So I think, ironically, we'll probably be using Zoom type events on a frequent basis. We tried our first one during the pandemic. We had a phenomenal amount of people join us, and we did some terrific business as a consequence. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that people were sitting at home, were looking at their walls, not being able to go out, not being able to do anything. And then we were in this environment with all of these people, which was actually more intimate in some ways than going to a big opening at a gallery where people are just, lining up to get a drink and it's loud and noisy and you can't really speak to people. It became a very intimate environment, and we will continue to use those media.
Marilyn, have you ever sold a house through FaceTime or Zoom?
Now we are. a new reality, virtual showings.
Right.
Agents show up and they just FaceTime, Zoom their clients, and they make their offer sight unseen. It's a bit scary, but it's working.
And the housing market is booming. I just read in USA Today that the United States has a $4 million shortfall of homes, buyers versus sellers. So, where are they coming from, these buyers, and why are they buying so many homes?
Well, we had a silver lining in this pandemic, and who knew it would happen? But being where we located, you and I, in beautiful Palm Desert, California, Palm Springs area, we're really close to LA, San Diego, San Francisco. All the West Coast wanted to be here. They were fleeing the cities. The downtown areas of most cities have seen a vacancy, where the suburbs and something within driving distance, which we are, just saw a flurry of activity. And that's why the prices went up about 25% over last year. We were selling property nonstop in August, 120 degrees. They were still coming. So they want to be here, it makes them feel safe, and it gives them a whole new opportunity.
And the resale of homes is expected to jump 9% this year on top of a 3% gain. So what does that mean in terms of like home furnishings, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, everybody wants to start over. So that's a good thing. And I think the people that are buying these homes, the biggest sector of home sales in our area, these are second homes and mostly retirees, but the biggest sector was high end, high end. And that's what used to sit for a long time, and now it's gone. And I think these people are coming here for longer periods of time, investing more in their surroundings, their furnishings, if you will, their artwork, because they're going to spend more time here. It's not just going to be a lock and leave place anymore.
Yeah, it should be really good for the art market in the future. The art market has always followed the home market, by 6 months to 18 months. And I think we'll see an uptick in the art market over the next, year. So Jeff, the same thing's going on in the Hamptons, right?
No question about it. It's not even about the Hamptons per se. Yes, it's Long Island, but it's Connecticut, and it's Pennsylvania, and it's New Jersey. The tri-state area, people clearly have vacated Manhattan in droves. We were chatting the other day about where I live in Manhattan, in this beautiful complex. There are 900 vacant apartments right now. It's just astonishing to me. And many of these people have either moved out of the city, bought places in the tri-state area out of the city, or they've moved to their country houses or their second homes or whatever it is. And we're starting to see it already in some ways, an uptick in interest to fill the walls of these houses that we're talking about, that people are moving back into. It's remarkable.
So do you go around the gallery with, like on FaceTime, and they pick out some pieces and then you do a home show or something?
Yep, that's one of the things we do. We also have people send us photographs of their homes, and we Photoshop and do renderings of what a piece of art would look like on a wall. That has been one of the best things. Fortunately, I'm a Photoshop nerd, and we've been able to we sold a piece this afternoon, actually. Somebody sent us a photograph of the wall, and they were thinking about it. All we need are the dimensions, and we can calculate roughly where something's going to fit, and we can put it on the wall, and they go, oh my gosh, it looks perfect there. Okay, we'll take it. It's astonishing. So yes, walking around with an iPhone or whatever and showing people art on the wall, doing renderings, and actually having FaceTime sort of get-togethers has been astonishingly successful.
Quite a bit different than the late 80s when we started, and what we had was a little metal box with index cards in that you wrote all your customers down.
Notes and everything. And then you'd send Polaroids out in the mail.
Yeah, Yeah, or brochures, we printed brochures, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's quite a bit different. Jeff and I have known each other for over 30 years, and both of us worked for Martin Lawrence Galleries for many years and got our education, I would say, from Marty Blinder and Barry Levine and some fantastic artists, during that time. That was,
Astonishing. I think we're privileged in some ways to have gone through that experience.
I think so too. Yeah. We had 40 galleries at one point.
Yeah.
It was a big undertaking. Yeah. So Marilyn, any other insights you have from the real estate market you want to share?
I think it's gonna keep going all year.
You do.
Yeah, until the kids go back to school and back to their sports next fall, perhaps, and we get back to a little more normalcy. But you see it on El Paseo here in Palm Desert. There's a lot of art galleries on that street, and they're busy. And
Yeah.
there's people shopping, and they're carrying bags, making purchases. It's been good. I think the economy's good for those people that are buying the homes. They have the discretionary income.
Right. I think so too. And I was completely shocked at what happened during the pandemic, where I really thought everybody was going to hibernate and just be a turtle and pull their head in and say, let's wait it out, right? And it's completely the opposite. Though I think it's those people, yeah, you were right, Marilyn, that, want to be outside more, especially here in the Coachella Valley, right? And they can come down and have their family join them and have a pool in the backyard and just, have their enjoyment that way.
And the hotels were closed, so they had to stay in homes.
Right.
And
That really-
it'll be interesting come summer, especially in the desert when the weather gets hot. But also I feel like in New York, I hear of all these people saying like, this is going to be the summer of the year and everyone in New York is going to come out. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
If I may, our gallery is right next door to a hotel from a very well-known hotel chain. And we've become very friendly. We have art installed in the hotel. We do all kinds of things together. And they are, at this point in time, between 80 and 95% occupied. There were some rough times for them where it was, in the real early part of the pandemic, but they are 80 to 95% occupied. And people are coming into the gallery, although we have contracted hours and we have to abide by CDC guidelines and whatnot. It's astonishing how many people are actually in the city visiting at this time. And now that the weather's changing.
Yeah. This is the time we usually do Art Expo New York.
Mhm.
And, every year I hire a florist to decorate our registration, because your first impression of somebody coming in the show is you only get one first impression, right? So I have this lady and she's been doing it for over 10 years for us. And she's always like, Eric, it's springtime. Let's do cherry blossoms and all this. And I was just thinking about her going, we're not doing the show in April this year, that we're doing this instead, right? But I was thinking about her and you're right. It's a great time to be in New York. So
yeah, the springtime is an amazing.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us, you guys. Any parting thoughts, or I think we kind of
I
handled
think
it.
this is a great idea.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
Great platform.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thanks for
You're
coming,
welcome.
Marilyn.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, Eric, Hannah.
Thank you for joining us.
Bye. Thank you.
Cheers.
So now we're going to take a moment and showcase 4 or 5 exhibitors. And Laura, let's start with, how about Angela Gonzalez?
Mhm.
Oh, Laura, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, we're getting a lot of people chiming in from all over and we love it. Tell us where you're from in the chat. We've got Kezi Design from New York City, David from Florida, Michael Pacini from Italy, Tosh from Atlanta, Joe from Switzerland, and Stephen from Santa Fe. It's amazing.
Awesome.
I know Michael Pacini from Italy.
Yeah.
Hi, Michael.
Yeah, and keep writing in the chat. We want to see where you guys are from.
We do.
So first up in our showcase, we have Angela Gonzalez, and Angela is a multidisciplinary Mexican artist living right at the border between Mexico and San Diego. She's a painter, a dancer, a curator, a sculptor, and a true mixed media artist. Color and form are the 2 things that run throughout whatever she creates, using both to materialize her emotions and define her thoughts. The color in her work is expressive and vibrant, and she is, and the various forms express her love for art and excitement she brings to her collectors. And Angela has a big personality, and we love her as a person, and her art is just truly incredible.
Yeah, we had Angela live a couple months ago, and what an energetic, her energy is so contagious. And we asked her what she's working on now, and her answer is kind of like, what am I not working on, right? She's doing everything from sewing projects to her art and paintings. In fact, one of the other artists, TJ Silverlake, wrote to Angela and told her how much he liked her work today. And that's really a nice accolade to get from another artist. But her abstract work even has a little bit of cubism in it. If you look at the, like Looking to the South piece, you know, you kind of feel like cubism was invented by Picasso and George Braque. And it kind of looks like, you know, you could see in your mind, you could take that painting apart by piece and kind of put it back together. And that's what Cubism is about. That's a big piece too. 60 by, what is it? 60 by 40 inches. So that's a lot of work for a good price. And her color and her blending of colors is absolutely stellar. And I encourage you to go to Angela's book and pay her a hello and watch her video.
Yeah, and then next up we have Kathleen Werner. And Kathleen is a freehand painter working in large paintings and interactive sculptures. She paints freehand, which is honestly truly astonishing because her work is so precise, almost looks like it was created digitally. So it's very impressive, the work that she does. And her ecliptic painting series is designed with geometric shapes and distinctive movement.
And her use of color is minimal, but it explodes on the canvas. So if you look at one of these pieces, you could probably count, I don't know, 4 or 5, 6 colors in there, but it looks like there's so many more. Ecliptic 77377 there on the left. I mean, that on any wall would really pop. I can totally see that in boardrooms and banks and, you know, and obviously in the living room homes too. And it's the preciseness of her paintings is incredible. It's almost like Mazerolles and some of these optic artists. It's really good work. And she's got a beautiful personality. You should watch her video because she has a lovely voice and she tours around her studio. And then the end of it is, and that's all we have for today. And she just kind of goes away, but it's really fun.
Yeah, I love her work. And then next up, we are going to go over to Art Blend. And Elaine Joseph and Michael Joseph are the faces behind Art Blend, which showcases work from Phyllis Shipley, Mari Carmen Fernandez, Roxy Sora, Keone, Jamie Cost, Mozart, Michael Joseph himself, he's actually a photographer, Lawrence Armstrong, and Christine Alfrey.
You can see all the different work here on the page. Michael was in the concert business for many years. So he's an event planner and organizer. And the invention of Art Blend, an artist collective, was perfect place for him to take his skill set. He and Elaine have helped had nurtured many artists. They held their hands through the entire process of putting on these shows that we do. By framing their work, hanging their work, assisting in pricing. And he's an expert in the art industry. And for those of you in the trade, a good person to know for quality pieces of work at good prices. And Michael will be joining us for our next art talk to share his thoughts on what's trending in the art industry today. Some fantastic work there. I love that sculpture, Laura. Go back down to that. Yeah, Angular Tension by Mozart. That's really cool. Yeah.
And then next up, we are going to showcase Kate Taylor. And Kate is an abstract artist who lives in Toronto normally, but has spent the greater time of the pandemic in her small cabin in the woods located just north of Toronto. And her mission is to is to capture joy and make you feel present in nature when you are looking at her pieces. And Kate says, as the world becomes more and more fraught with stress and uncertainty, there is an even deeper need to connect with the earth and integrate joy in our lives.
Good page for Earth Day, right?
Definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah, her work is light. It's airy. She leaves some room in between the flowers so you can kind of feel the, it looks like the wind is blowing a little bit and there's some few things blowing off. You can see the energy there. The use of color is great. Very upbeat work, happy work. It screams springtime. And Kate is represented by 14 galleries in both the United States and Canada, which tells you a lot about the quality of the work and her sales. You don't get represented by 14 galleries if you're not selling any work. You're selling a lot of work. In fact, I remember our last San Diego event in October of 2019. I walked by Kate's booth and we encourage the artists when they sell pieces out of their booth to either replace them or put a red dot up so the booth looks complete. And then at the end of the show, they can deliver the pieces to many of the collectors. And her booth was almost empty. And I'm like, Kate, what are you doing? She's like, they wanted to take it, which you have to let people do. But her booth looked almost empty at the end of the show, which was fantastic. I mean, that's what everybody wants to do, is sell work. So good job, Kate.
Yeah, and Kate will be joining us live tomorrow for our Avenues of Art sales discussion. So make sure you tune into that. And then one more quick thing to note about Kate's work is that it doesn't have to stand, vertically up and down the way she showcases it. She kind of turns it and hangs it different ways. So kind of fun little note about her artwork. And next we are going to feature Julia Ross. And Julia is inspired by meditation and nature, perfect for Earth Day today. And she uses mixed media to transpose the aura of meditation to artwork, inspiring a calm strength in the viewer. She uses delicate brush strokes, creating bold colors, and she also uses natural mediums and elements in her work that kind of blurs the boundaries of culture and dissolves records of time.
Yeah, it's when you think of the color field painters, you kind of see Julia's work with that. Obviously abstract works, great use of blending colors, powerful canvases when they're up on the wall. She did our Red Dot show in 2019, Julia, and she came with her daughter. I think it was her daughter's first trip to a show. Her daughter got sick. She had the flu. So Julia couldn't be at the show every day. And I remember asking her, is there anything we can do? And we tried to have somebody cover her booth as often as we could. You always know when good work always sells. And Julie ended up selling a number of pieces, even though she wasn't there. We had a sign up that said, go to the show office and we'll help you. And she sold 4 or 5 pieces during the show, which was fantastic. And happily her daughter got well and everything ended up okay. Another cool part about Julie is that she runs Art Gallery Incorporated in Dallas, Texas, and represents female artists with a goal of selling 1 piece for each artist per month, which is just fantastic. And they also give 10% of the proceeds to platforms in the Dallas area that support women's needs. And aside from their charitable donations, the gallery also hosts art contests, which enable women to receive visibility and new opportunities to promote their work. And Julia says, the truth is that women never have been treated equally in the art world. And today they remain dramatically underrepresented and undervalued in museums, galleries, and auction houses. Counting and quantifying won't solve discrimination, but statistics are useful for understanding the scope of the problem. And she's making an impact with wonderful art. Good job, Julia.
Absolutely.
Is that it for yeah, let's go back. Bring us back in. Here we are. Our next talk is called Trending in Today's Art World. Let me find it here.
Yeah, and whether you are looking for that perfect piece for a client's project, searching for a new category to add revenue to your gallery's bottom line, or just need some wow to impress, we're here to check out what's happening in today's art scene and add a punch to your collection.
We're here with Michael Joseph, owner of Art Blend. Hi, Michael.
Hey, good evening.
Susanna Pareto Swap, founder of Vanguard Culture in San Diego.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Susanna. And our own Mark Shapiro, director of sales for Redwood Art Group and owner of Mark Shapiro Fine Art.
Good evening, everyone.
Welcome.
And kudos to everyone for being off mute.
Yeah, very good. So Michael, everyone wants to know what's trending, but I don't know, how has it even been possible to watch what's trending during the pandemic year we just had, right?
Yeah, correct. That's the big opening statement. I was just, we're on the East Coast. I just finished dinner with my wife and we were discussing the topics and she said, trending? How can anything be trending? What's trending is a mask. That's it. And art mask. You see all kinds of creative art masks. That's the hot trend. But kidding aside, there are some things going on in the industry right now, and my finger on the pulse with particularly my corporate art consultants and my interior designers and what they're sourcing from us and what they're requesting. So that's kind of interesting. And what they're presenting to us has never really come up before, but they're looking for art with a message. Mixed media, sort of art that is relative of the times, what you're seeing in the news, if you will. I think they're collecting artwork and placing artwork that's going to, put an emphasis on history and a documentation of the times that we're going through. And add to that, they're sourcing local art. So projects from coast to coast across the country, which I'm working with the developers, the project managers, and the consultants. A project may be in New York or LA, and they're looking for artists that are in that area to provide the artwork.
Very good.
Yeah, and Mark, we just talked about the home market with Maryland and how it's expanding so much, but do you find that people are looking for more local artists or are they going for international?
I would like to use the term regional artist rather than local artist. Being here in Connecticut in the tri-state area, in a 2.5-hour drive, an artist could be in 8 different states. So the idea of just limiting yourself to this particular local area, no. Open up your horizons a bit. Contact these designers, these decorators, these architects who will tell you, we're looking for projects and this is what we need. Look for decorators and designers who are like-minded. So if you're a sports artist and you're looking to do man caves, don't get into somebody who's doing florals. Look for something that's like-minded. And that's what I would do if I were an artist reaching out.
Have you seen the home sales and the home expansion? Has it hit your business yet? Are you selling more work?
Well, yes and no. So what I've seen is, collectors, now they're home. They have money to spend, and they have their artists, their direction of art and taste is still the same as it was before the pandemic. So clearly they're going to go ahead and they're going to spend their money. With these kind of people, you have to realize that you have to put the right art in front of them to be successful.
Yep. And Susanna, what about San Diego? Can you tell us about the art scene there?
Yeah, San Diego is thriving. San Diego is, we're a border community. And so we have the privilege and opportunity to work with national and international artists, artists from both sides of the border. Clearly, the Latinx community is also really important. More than trending for me, I think it's important for collectors to lead the trend and to take this moment to capture this time capsule that we're all living through. And so what we're seeing here is folks collecting by local artists. And because we have a lot of, BIPOC artists here in this region, which is Black and Indigenous people of color, we are seeing people collect by artists who respond to the Me Too movement and Black Lives Matter and Stop Asian Hate, even the conspiracy theory stuff and immigration and, all of those things. So it's a really unique moment in time to, hi, buddy.
I'm sorry about that. It never fails.
But it is a really unique time, and we're seeing, and especially, if you have the means to do so, now would be the time to support the artists that you care about, the people in your community. And I think that's what people are doing now. I myself have focused on purchasing artwork by my local artists here, literally in this region, in this small area of San Diego, California. It's important to do so. Now this is their livelihood, so this is the time.
Right. We just highlighted Angela Gonzalez, and she lives there in Mexico, and she's been part
San
of our.
Isidro, I think. Yeah.
So I guess anyone can chime in on this. Do you feel, especially since you're all living in different places, do you guys feel that people are ready for live art experiences?
Yeah.
Well, everybody knows I'm in South Florida, and eyes and ears are on us, and we've been open. I mean, we've been more liberties than probably anyone in any one state has had, and I partly feel guilty for that, but we've definitely had our share of obstacles to overcome as well. But the atmosphere is different here. The lifestyle is different. But so we've had some live events. I mean, you've watched us have a Super Bowl. We're having sporting events going on, car auctions, and some other things that are happening. So we've been ready. We're ready. We're waiting for the other cities to open up. I'm in close touch with Eric, and Eric has his pulse on the industry, so we know, what we're anticipating. I was listening in earlier to what Jeff had to say. We do also participate in a show out in the Hamptons. There's readiness for that in August, and that's it. I think if we can turn the corner on that, we're in turn 3, turn 4. We're already preparing for a wonderful Spectrum Miami in December. I've been trying to reach Eric this week and book as much space as I can, because I think it's going to be exciting. I think everybody is ready. There's some pent up energy. I was listening to what Ms. Ford was talking about the housing market here in South Florida. Listings are going in a day to 3, and it's happening. So, yeah.
San Diego's we're really lucky in San Diego because we have the best weather probably in the nation. And so it's really cool that a lot of arts organizations have taken all of their happenings outside. And so things have been opening up, distanced and masked and all of those things. And now the trend is, are you double vaxxed? Are you double vaxxed? That's the thing. And but what we're lucky because year round we can have, all right, I'm next. But we're really lucky because year round we can have, the restaurants have taken everything outside, and which has been a really cool new move that I hope stays. And the museums have taken all, artwork and done outdoor exhibitions and then all the virtual things too. Even though we are ready, I hope that some of those virtual happenings don't go away, because it's given us an opportunity to connect with people quite easily from around the world. Just as you mentioned, all the people that are on this call today from Italy and Switzerland and all these folks, normally they would have had to, get on a plane and find a place to stay. And in the expense there was quite different than just hopping on a Zoom call, getting to connect with other creative leaders and, experiencing something cool.
That's interesting, Savannah, because somebody might be visiting San Diego, popular destination, from say Italy or the East Coast, and then they find out about your organization, you're hosting another event, and you can pick up a whole new audience member, through, even if you just film it and then you post it on your site and they can watch it later. Like we're recording this, right? So this could be, in fact, our first RAVE event had 3,400, attendees. The next one had 1,800 to 2,000. And hopefully this one, it's more of a trade. So anywhere around 1,000 would be fantastic, but it's not just that. How many people watch it later, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just
Yeah, that's happened to us a lot. All of our events, we were like, how did you hear from us? We're getting people from Australia and like, from all over, literally all over the world. I'm like, how did they find out about us? And our audiences have grown and become more diverse, not just, we're very San Diego focused typically, but now throughout the pandemic, we've actually been promoting and producing events that are open to anyone. And you're right, they get to be watched again and again, and they grow legs. It's really cool opportunity that we shouldn't squander. We shouldn't just go back to this old normal, but have a hybrid version that's a new future.
That's right. So a friend of mine, Mike Clary, who is a Canadian, lives in Calgary, and he attended some of our events here with like Art San Diego, and we had an Indian Wells event. And he just texted me when your cat walked by, Michael, and said,
I heard you saying earlier, you introduced my wife and I in our company and mentioning that I was in show business and the concert business. So, I'm known as the PT Barnum, and why wouldn't I orchestrate that my cat would walk by, right? Cameo appearance. But hopefully we'll all go viral from that.
So my last question is, has anyone been to a museum lately?
Museums, oof.
No.
Yeah. The San Diego Museum of Art opened up, and we're members, and I hadn't been to a museum in over a year, and I was almost on the verge of tears. It was so moving, and just to think, what's really cool, actually, I attended an event last night, actually, for trustees of all the museums in Balboa Park. We have like 30 something museums in Balboa Park. And they showed us that even though the museums have been shut down for visitors throughout the pandemic, there's so much activity happening. People are, they're doing so much work. They're like rebuilding, they're renovating, they're getting ready. So, don't underestimate what museums are capable of under the pandemic, and of course support them, but it's really moving to think, you forget, you take for granted what you don't have. And even art shows like this, when we finally get to do this in person, in a real sort of way, it's very moving to have artwork right this close and get to see the textures and the lines versus a virtual version, for sure. So yeah, we all miss that. We do.
Yeah. To add to that, to what you're exactly saying, we were having a dinner discussion with a group last week, and talking about things we miss coming in contact with, or what we would put on our priority list to go see. And I give credit to my dad, who said, you know what, it's the mass. You feel the mass of the object, what you're talking about, of coming in contact with the art. You feel the presence of it there in the room with it. We were, talking about traveling and just going to, seeing landmarks or going to cities. I was talking earlier about my travels as a photographer, and it was just like, when you're looking at a picture of the Brooklyn Bridge, is not the same thing of standing in front of it. Right. Because you feel the mass, you feel that energy that you're talking about. So I think, in that round discussion that we had, it was like, yes, everybody was looking forward to going back out and into immersing themselves into that again and feeling that. It's a feeling. My wife talks about it all the time. Feelings and emotional connections. So we need that.
Yep.
Yeah. So thank you all so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure to have you all.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it. Let's keep it going.
For everyone watching, if you want to learn more about the BIPOC trends Susanna was talking about, and the Bridget Roundtee's valuable content as a means of creating a visual language, we have an amazing interview with Bridget to show at the end of today's live platform. So make sure to stay tuned for that.
Yeah, so we have like 5 or 6 more artists to highlight, and then we'll show the video, right?
Yep.
Okay. Let's do Stephen.
Let's start with Stephen Robeck. So Stephen Robeck is a photographer who photographs mountains, lakes, trees, and clouds, very fitting for today's Earth Day theme. And he has devoted his time to mastering the modern tools and techniques of image making and presentation, allowing his work to really, really captivate the tranquility of nature.
Yeah, and we were on with Stephen a couple months ago, and even recently, and he gave us a tour of his studio, and he had a cutaway of how he constructs these pieces. It is really cool. They're floated in like a light, I guess it would be almost ash wood frame, like a museum mount, and the quality of the work he does is top notch. Really, really well done. So he manipulates these photographs a little bit. He starts with nature, and then he creates these, well, the marina pieces almost look abstract, right? And his use of color is just fantastic. It's all starting with nature. It's a perfect booth page for Earth Day. Who's next, Hannah?
And up next, we have Marek Bogzak.
I think you just wait a minute.
Bogzak.
Bogzak.
And Marek is a photographer born in Prague in the Czech Republic, where he still lives today. And he has been photographing nature scenes since his early teenage years and is still inspired by all things nature today.
They don't look like photographs.
They really don't.
No, it looks like paintings. Another great photographer who manipulates them a little bit, and they come out to these almost like color field painting, right? I mean, look at the use of color. It's fantastic. They definitely add a lot of color to any home or office space. Great work for designers and architects. I mean, just lovely work. And very, very well priced. So I would encourage you to go to his booth page and watch his video, because the work is really well done and well framed.
I agree. It is really nice. And then up next, we have Philip Reed. And Philip was born in England, which is a land of culture and myths. And he has traveled to many countries in search of experiencing the myths and the spirit of diverse cultures. He, along with a lot of our other artists tonight, are inspired by nature, including mountains, oceans, rivers, waterfalls, you name it. And his work creates a natural balance of aesthetic beauty.
Yeah, you look at Philip's work and you think, you know, take that piece Solitude, for instance, right there. That's not painted, you know, you don't use the green and then it's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer, 20 to 25 layers of building that piece to get that effect. Even the piece, The Gathering. I mean, and for $1,950, I mean, that's a really good price on a painting that takes a long time to build. So he's got to paint it, and then it's got to dry. He's got to paint it, and it's got to dry. So I'm certain, I didn't ask him that, but I'm certain he's working on multiple pieces at a time, or it would just take too long. And his piece, a lot of his work reminds me of the famous artist Marc Chagall. Obviously not the landscape piece in the middle, but the ones up at the top, because they've got you know, objects and images floating, you know, especially Curiosity, right? Little face in there, you know, pieces floating in space, like Marc Chagall had the goats we have one in the living room.
Mm-hmm.
Marc Chagall. So another artist that I would definitely try to visit his booth page.
Yeah, I love that piece, Winter Paradise. I know if this was hanging in someone else's home or office or anywhere, I would definitely ask about this artist, because his work is just really, really, really captivating. And then next up, let's highlight TJ Silverlake. TJ is a digital artist who uses photos to blend color and create unique pieces. He has worked with many, many contemporary artists, including John Baldessari, Mike Kelly, and Doug Hubler. And aside from that, he's held numerous career positions. He's been a landscape design and construction. He's been in illustration for television, 3D modeling, book design, web design. B2B e-commerce, site construction. I mean, you name it, he's done it. And he has also taught art at USC and Loyola Marymount universities.
Yeah, TJ's education is top notch. John Baldessari and Mike Kelly are two very, very, very well-known artists and been very successful. His work is very interesting. When we get back to work running events, I'm going to contact TJ and purchase a piece once I start making money again, right? The work is just, I love that motorcycle piece on the video. Laura, can you scroll up to that? Look how complicated that is. And so he's manipulating all these different photographs to build the motorcycle. And the boots piece, if you scroll down where you've got the guy climbing inside the boots, and the work is just really, really well done. I thoroughly enjoy looking at it. Some of them are a little more complicated than others, but there's something there for everybody to like.
It is
phenomenal.
It's very urban. I can see this definitely in a city setting and restaurant downtown, something like that.
It's really cool work.
It's very cool. And let's take a look over at Sylvie. Sylvie Mazerolli is a dedicated and very energetic photographer with over 15 years of experience in the creative industry. She's worked in the film, beauty, and fashion industry as a professional makeup artist and currently lives in Canada in New Brunswick, which has allowed her to slow down and focus on her photography.
Yeah, and she says in her video that the work is streamlined and focused with a clear narrative. So there's not these big landscape photos and things like that. Like you take that lighthouse or the beach scene there with the lady walking, and or the boat scene, and you know, you can see that it's pretty clear. They're well done photographs. Photography is a funny medium because I wouldn't say it's funny. It's a good medium. You think anybody could take a picture, but you can't. And when you do see work that's good, it kind of stops you, and you stop and look at it. And hers is one that you definitely stop and look at. It's got kind of a soft and subtle, peaceful feel to it too. Go ahead, check out Sylvia. All of their phone numbers and their emails are on her pieces are very inexpensive, by the way. You can buy pieces for, you know, $80 to $250. And all of the there's her contact info there. There's her phone number, and you can contact the artist directly. We don't take any commission on any of the sales. The artists keep 100% of the profits. Like I said, if you're a designer, art gallery, in the art industry, and you know you need help in buying, or you need introduction, you can contact me. So who's next?
Next up, we have GEBHARDT Gallery.
Not them again.
And GEBHARDT Gallery consists of Angela and Chris GEBHARDT, who are a couple who individually paint abstract pieces. It's two artists under one roof, and they each have decades of life lessons and experiences, and they are visually rendered by this husband and wife duo. Their pieces are honestly larger than life, and they don't just hang on a wall, they really, really dominate a wall. The GEBHARDTs don't collaborate and rarely share opinions about upcoming projects, but what they produce is definitely distinctively different from each other and also their peers.
Yeah, they don't collaborate because Angela started painting first, and Chris walked into her studio and said, "Why don't you do this?" I think she shot him the evil eye and told him to get out. That was well over 10 years ago. And Chris started painting. The next thing you know, he has a studio. They live in Indiana, and they have a large motor coach, big motorhome, with a garage in the back, like a toy hauler. And that's where they put their paintings in because they're big. Kelly and I own one. It's 8 feet by 8 feet. And it's in our living room. And they deliver their paintings personally and help hang them in your homes because they're so big. And it's hard to create big paintings like that. Chris's paintings are very masculine. He'll paint a bull, an elephant, right? These like that figure there on the left. And then Angela's are much more subtle and abstract. We have one of Angela's pieces in our living room. I think it's called Chaos, actually. And They've been painting and very successful. They're making, the last 10 years, they've really grown in the art industry, and they do Art Expo every year. They do our Red Dot Miami show every year and constantly sell. They're represented in a couple galleries. One of them is Mac Fine Art down in Florida. So those of you in the industry, the trade side, it's a good reference for you to have, especially for large installation pieces, if you're doing any big projects like that. So
Absolutely. And I can even see these pieces being staged in a home and someone touring the home and saying, I want that to come with the house, because they're really, really incredible.
look for their work coming out in a movie soon called The Gray Man. It's featured in the movie. And I think that's video.
That's
There we
all
go.
we have for the artists tonight.
Yeah.
So be sure to check out all of the artworks from today's artists and all of our rave exhibitors that you've seen tonight, including many more that we will be highlighting over the course of the weekend, from innovative galleries to top independent artists. And you can also, we encourage you to go to their guest book, schedule an appointment, have a personal virtual event with them or session, and get to know them a little better.
Laura?
Yeah, we had a lot of our artists in our chat tonight. TJ Silverlake was there, and our Art Levinska from Prague. And I just really wanted to thank all of our artists for tuning in too tonight. It's super nice. Thanks, guys.
Yep, that's great. Thanks for coming. So join us tomorrow at 4 p.m. And look, it's 4:58, 1 hour, 58 minutes on the dot. 7 p.m. Eastern, we discuss the future of art fairs, one of my favorite topics, and avenues for art sales. Those are our two panel discussions. And then we'll feature another 10 artists or so.
And we encourage you to stay with us as we show you Vanguard Culture's special interview with Beth Marino, curator at California Center for the Arts, and innovative mixed media and installation artist, Bridget Roundtree, for an insightful interview that illuminates visual content and one of the hot trends we were discussing earlier. So stay tuned for this video, and thank you guys so much, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. My name is Susanna Paredes-Swap. I'm the founder of an all-volunteer nonprofit called Vanguard Culture that works to advance San Diego's creative industry workforce. Vanguard Culture provides quality arts coverage of San Diego's arts and culture community, professional development for creatives, and cultural events that bring diverse communities together and inspire creative collaboration across all industries. For more information, please visit our website at vanguardculture.org. We couldn't be more excited to have Bridget Roundtree as our first featured artist for the art shop. Some of you may remember that Bridget had a beautiful art show installed at Vanguard Culture Headquarters Gallery, which opened on March 14th, 2020, 2 days before the world shut down. Instead of hosting an in-person reception, we held a discussion with Bridget and the show's curator, Kai Essery, via Facebook and Instagram Live. Today, we are very pleased to welcome her back and to give her work the due credit and attention that it deserves. Her two bodies of work, Suspended Landscapes and Valuable Content, couldn't be more timely as they address our human interconnectivity, the fragility of the natural world, and the inevitable breakdown of previously accepted social structures. The artist statement on her website states, "Making art is a way to create meaning, to question systems of thought, and to communicate relationships outside the limitations of spoken language. I engage art historical images as a way to point towards the ideas and philosophies that constitute a visual language, an integration of old and new, nature and culture, thought and action, a revitalization of images as a generative possibility. I'm interested in researching how thought creates form and how the form becomes or manifests itself as an object. I'm looking at how an object suggests how we think, what we believe, and how we live. My work is an inquiry into the way physical forms and patterns become representative of what we know of ourselves, the relationship between the self, the objectified, and nature. Looking at the everyday world with the idea that we are not only passively interacting with the environment, we're actually actively thinking it. What kind of environment is built from the ideology of something specifically made to be consumed, bought, or sold? Using objects that are found, discarded, or deemed no longer useful is important in questioning the foundations of what is deemed valuable in contemporary culture. Ladies, the floor is yours. Please take it away.
All right. Well, again, thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you again to Susanna and Bridget for inviting me along with Vanguard Culture today. I'm really excited to be here. I was introduced to Bridget's work a few years ago and immediately loved it right away. Thought, wow, there's something really, really interesting happening here. The type of work and the way she works really spoke to me. But it wasn't until I saw her work in person for the first time that was like, this amazing, like, oh my gosh. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here. I assume all of us are art lovers. But you know, you just can't experience art on a screen or in a book the way that you can in person and in front of it. Like, there's an exchange of molecules that happens when you're right there in front of an art piece. And I think that's super true for Bridget's work. And that's one of the things that I really, really love about it. It's really delicate and intimate. And it's just definitely something to be seen in person. Suzanne, I was so happy to see that you can zoom in when you're looking at Bridget's work on your website, because I think it's super important to be able to see all of those details in her work. And they're really, really wonderful. I was lucky enough to work with her. Like you mentioned recently, she was one of, I believe, 21 artists in Endangered, which was an exhibition that we hosted early January of 2020. It was curated by Danielle Deary. So I have to give her credit for curating Bridget into the show and giving me the opportunity to work with her and to see her work in person.
I think in times of loss and in times of anxiety and political strife, that art becomes even more important. Artists are needed more than ever to offer different ways to view the world and different ways to translate the information that we're being pretty much bombarded with on a daily basis. So it has changed quite a bit, and it's brought me a deeper relationship with you and Susanna as we're trying to figure out ways to continue and to remain vital and to be generative during this time. One thing that I always have been drawn to and love is when you walk by something and you think it's one thing, maybe from a distance, but then as you get closer, you realize that it's another thing, which is kind of the basis of mixed media. A lot of my work, what I'm researching conceptually, art historically, theoretically, is the way that I physically approach making the work. So the form mirrors the thought behind it. And the basis of mixed media, like in valuable content, is, basically a lot of it is removing something out of the image. So it's taking the visual image and looking at what that is suggesting, again, socially, politically, emotionally, who's telling this story, what is the idea behind it. Images are not innocent in that way. They are loaded with ideologies, biases, winners, losers, all those structures that we live by. And so by removing a piece of it or interrupting what that original image was expressing and putting another image in. So, and therefore you create a third meaning So the work lives on in a different way. And I think that process of actually, you know, interrupting the image, and I have a large, hundreds and hundreds of mixed media images that are cataloged. So you have to have many, and then then you start doing visual analogies with them. So what does that change the context if I put this image in there, if I put this man, or if I put this animal, or this abstract landscape? What does that do to that original image? And it is a process of translating those two images together to create the third thing, which is the basis of mixed media.
Okay, so we're focusing mainly today on two of the series. And while they have visual differences, they still definitely have that Bridget Roundtree fingerprint on them. And can you talk about the difference in those two series? One seems to be much more planned out and deliberate. That would be the valuable content, but correct me if I'm wrong. And then in your suspended landscapes, it's much more spontaneous. At least the landscape portion of it is much more spontaneous. Can you talk to us about how these two differing methods speak to the larger narrative of your work?
Yeah. Valuable content, again, is, I touched a little bit on it, is a mixed media based practice, which is precise. It's, you know, I have a really small swivel knife where the little blade will move. So everything has to be cut somewhat meticulously so that two images read together. So the idea is to make it one composition. So you're working with two kind of divergent images in that way. But when you're making the final piece, I'm always looking for the composition to be balanced, to make sure it's tonally correct, that the lines of the hair match up with the lines of the coat. So when you first walk by, you don't necessarily, like you were saying, you don't necessarily see the embedded image. That's the hope, is that it looks like it is just one completed image. And then as you move in closer, you start to see that there's something else going on than what maybe you originally thought. And again, and the way that I work, the physical form the work takes matches my thought process of how I'm thinking about it. So in mixed media, it is, it lends itself to being political because you are interrupting an image that has a very specific message, art historically or socially or politically. It's a very immediate form, so it's found imagery. So I can use newspapers, magazines, postcards, all of these things that I use also become, it's an immediate form in that way. It doesn't cost a lot of money, and you don't have to know yourself how to paint or draw, though it is helpful to understand the practicalities of making art and what you're working with, like form, tone, perspective. All of that comes in to the work. With suspended landscapes, was the thought behind that, and what I was interested in researching was chance. So I became very interested in emergent structures and researching forms that are always present. And I found that to be really interested. And I was also reading kind of new narratives on ecology, where we as humans fit or are connected with the rest of nature. And that there are these also systems and structures that are always present, that I wanted to visually translate that act into the work. So it has that feeling of spontaneity because it's literally spilling different inks. So I'll mix up different inks and tones, and then it's a chance, I spill them, it's not, and then I respond. So the materiality of what I'm doing becomes really, really important. Actually, the ink, the water, I use sticks and scratch in a little bit, but it was also an interest in decentering as as a human, I think that's really important right now for us to understand. And I think we are getting a good taste of that with the pandemic, the fact that we aren't in control and time doesn't revolve around us and we are not invincible in that sense. And this work definitely is an inquiry into those questions of what are these systems and structures that are already present, that are not man-made and do not follow rational thinking or an intention of I'm going to do this. So it was a way to decenter myself and really take that on myself and in my work of what appears and how can I be in a very present relationship with it without having to, kind of push it into form, but that the form is there. And then of course the mixed media and the human figures become much smaller in this body of work, and they're situated in a larger landscape where they're relational to what is going on. They are not the ones imposing the structure on the image or in this landscape or form. They're enveloped by that, which feels timely right now because I do feel that way on a day-to-day basis. And again, the pandemic has definitely exacerbated that feeling and brought it to the forefront.
What do you feel like the obligation of an artist is to address, say, hot button topics in their work, if they do?
Well, there's lots of different types of art. Some art is not meant to do that, or doesn't have that foot forward. Like within mixed media, I was saying that form lends itself to being political. It arose art historically to be political and comment on society, on the way they were being governed, on the horrors of war. It's been used that way for hundreds of years, or 100, I guess. So the role for me is to translate what is being presented within a visual language. That I feel is my job, and I feel I guess a moral responsibility to comment on inequalities that I see within a visual language. And so I feel like that's my job, is to comment and to offer other ways of seeing things. I'm putting this work out there, and what do I want to support as a person and as an artist? What paradigms am I representing? What structures of thought? What, racism, sexism, also, chance and spirituality in forms of being able to take something invisible and make it visible. It's called valuable content, to point towards a content within an image that it is loaded, and it does make it different, and it shapes who we are and how we see ourselves in the world. So you never directly point at it, right? You can't describe and define love or beauty or spirituality in that sense, but you can point at it, you can suggest, you can offer something that's, it's hard to talk about because it's not a tangible thing in that way. It's in between material and immaterial.